Hello. Are you able to see the screen?
Sir, we can't hear you.
Okay. Am I not audible? I guess I can. Did you mute me or something?
No, sir. Now it's audible.
Okay, okay. Can you see the screen that I have shared?
No, sir.
Okay. How about now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, great. So, yeah, good morning, everyone. So, hope you are all doing great. So, my name is Arjun. I'm doing my PhD in biomedical engineering biomedical engineering at Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. Okay, so in today's session, we will discuss the different research opportunities that's available in India as well as abroad briefly after you finish your BTech. Okay, so I could, how many, yeah, around 60 people are there, right? So what's the demographic? All are doing BTech only, right?
Yes, sir. Most
Okay,
of them
great.
are some are pass
Okay.
out.
Okay, okay. So I will stick on to English itself, right? It's comfortable.
I hope all of them are comfortable, sir.
Okay, great. So we will go ahead. So this session, rather than sticking to a strictly PowerPoint way or presenting something, because we are not teaching anything as such, anything new, we will try to keep it as much as informal as possible, and that's how I wish we could interact. Okay, so I will just give you a brief introduction into what are the different opportunities that are available. After that, we can have a discussion where we can have more or less like a question answer session, which I guess would be more useful to everyone. Okay, rather than me talking a lot about all the available opportunities. So basically, research or higher studies is more or like uh, you know um, personal choices. So one person's choice will be totally different from other person. So in that case, you will have specific questions that you would like me to answer, and I will try my best to answer those things. Cool. So we will start off. So if most of you have kind of finished BTech or doing BTech, and now you might be interested to pursue higher studies, and with an inclination towards research. That's probably why you might have come for this talk. Okay. So uh, what is research, first of all? That's one thing that we might have to clear from the first go. So during BTech, what did we do? If most of you are from Kerala itself, or one of the government engineering colleges or students of KTU, you might be very much aware that we do not follow a research-based curriculum. Okay, we come from an engineering college and not more like a research institute as such. So what happens is we will have stipulated syllabus that we cover over the 4 years of our bachelor's, which could be in a specific degree, say mechanical engineering or electronics engineering. I'm a mechanical engineer myself. So it's, we obviously have lab sessions or practical classes, but that's not extended to any research per se. We do already proven experiments, so that we can have a basic understanding of how things work. Now, when we talk about research, it's totally a different perspective. So it may not be something that you know directly. Okay, that's what this famous scientist have coined, that research is what I'm doing when I don't know what I'm doing. So basically, it's more or less like that. While I'm doing PhD, also I'm we kind of feel the same. We use techniques that we have already studied or we might have come across while reading a paper or something like that. However, it's not limited to whatever we have learned from a textbook. We explore, we find new things ourselves. So it's more or less like an adventurous journey or kind of an exploration rather than doing something in a very straightforward way. We obviously try to plan things. We try to make a kind of objectives. We try to formulate objectives so that we could stick to them so that we can achieve our goal. However, there is always uncertainties involved when it comes to research. Okay, so that's the first thing that you might have to keep in mind when you are thinking about what is research as such. Okay, now after BTech, we have a wide range of opportunities. We could choose any one of them. So most people will be preparing for a GATE exam if you are from India, because GATE is one of the most important exams for BTech students for pursuing higher studies as well as for some of the job opportunities. Now, I'm limiting our discussion with GATE because of the fact that we are all BTech students. But for basic science students, there are a large number of other exams like JAM, NET, and all those things. We are not going to that because we are BTech students. Okay. Now, after BTech, what all opportunities do we have? Okay, you might have come across most of these terms that I have put here. Okay, and most common being MTech. Okay, then PhD is there, MS is there, ME is there, then MTech research is there, and many other options like PSUs, MNCs, then engineering services exams and other government jobs, then banks, banking. So we engineers kind of adapt to all kinds of scenarios, right? So we are not restricted to engineering itself. We even go and take jobs for even from the accounting students and all those things. And obviously, some people turn to entrepreneurship, which is also kind of if you are confident about your skills and you believe that you can do something innovative, capture the market, then do something like that, you can definitely go for entrepreneurship and form a startup. Okay, so all these opportunities are there. Now, I will just briefly say, okay, we clear GATE in the final year or third or fourth year of BTech, or even after a year of repeating. And once we qualify for GATE, what we do? We apply for higher studies, or if we have a very good GATE score as well as very good rank, we could even apply for jobs in public sector undertakings like or PSUs, which, for example, like we could say Dell or Heavy Electronics Limited, Bharat Heavy Electronics Limited, or Oil Corporation, or anything like that. So different people will have different goals in their life. So job opportunities, if you're looking for PSUs, GATE is the best option that you have got. Then some people go for MNCs or multinational companies where they work. We categorize them all mostly as IT companies, but there are a lot more other opportunities. So especially like Intel, NVIDIA, or some companies like that, which take BTech students. Then obviously we have engineering services exam, which is one of the prestigious exams that you could clear to be a government servant as well as pretty reputed. It's like the civil service or IAS exam for engineers. So we are setting these aside as of now, but you are welcome to ask queries if you wish at the end of the session. Now we will talk mostly about the higher studies opportunities and, if possible, research opportunities. Okay, so first we will I am trying to give you a perspective of different pathways that you can take in order to finish your higher studies or research work in a standard way. So there are mainly 4 opportunities that's available to you, and these are the 4. So after you finish BTech, you can see the next step obviously is the GATE. Okay, I don't think there are much options to bypass GATE and go for something else. However, so as much as GATE, BTech is important for our higher studies, GATE is also important. Then actually you have multiple options. The most conventional way will be the taking an MTech, okay, or Masters in Technology, which is the most common phrase that we use, okay, and followed by a PhD and a postdoctoral position, okay. Now I will tell you each of these things. So this is the first and most common option that we all have, okay. Then some people, okay, understand that, okay, I have an interest towards research, so rather than going for an MTech, I might choose to go for an MTech research. So this is the MTech that will have a more research focus than pure theoretical coursework, okay. So after MTech research also, you can go for PhD as well as postdoctoral position. Don't worry about these different things. I will go through everything. Don't worry. Then we have another opportunity where we could combine the MTech as well as PhD, and it is called as integrated PhD. Okay, so you enroll into a course. During the period, you will be getting both MTech as well as PhD together. Okay, then you go for postdoc. And finally, this is the option that I took. I went after BTech, I wrote GATE, and then I went for PhD directly. So that's called as direct PhD. We will discuss about that too. Then again to postdoc. So this is the main four kind of paths that you can take if you are going for a full-time research kind of career. Okay, good. Now, if you are planning to go abroad, instead of GATE, we will have GRE or IELTS or TOEFL as the eligibility exams. And more than that, these are like basic eligibility tests. Other than that, you will have to qualify some GPA cutoff that the institute says, as well as if you're going to countries like Germany, you will have to know the language. So you may have to take, or show the proficiency in those kind of languages by taking certificates like A certificate, B certificate. So those things that you might have to do. But mostly abroad, you will come across MS than MTech. Okay, so it's just the term that is different, and MS is more like MTech research rather than MTech. So there is more research involved in an MS degree abroad. Okay, great. Then integrated PhD as well as direct PhD options are available in abroad. Now you have to understand that while we take these kind of options when we are planning to go abroad, the weightage comes to mostly to CGPA. Then most of this eligibility criteria like GRE, IELTS, TOEFL, everything is kind of an eligibility criteria or a cutoff. So once you qualify that, you might have to submit a research proposal, something like that. So it varies. If any one of you are interested in doing research abroad, we can have a discussion about that later. Okay, great. Then we will just finish these kind of parts where we do not have much importance on research per se. Okay, MTech in India or Masters in India without a research touch can be any one of this: MTech or Masters in Technology. Then we have Masters in Engineering or ME, and Masters in Design, MDes. So these are three different opportunities that you have once you finish BTech. So most of this, or they do not have much of a research content in it, and usually it's 2-year program where there will be intense coursework involved. Coursework means just like the papers that we take, like 6 papers and in a semester, or 6 different subjects in a semester. During MTech or MDes as well as for ME, there will be these kind of research subject papers that we will have to attempt and clear. Then, so it's basically more like BTech only, but at a advanced stage. Now, you might take a specialization, like we take mechanical engineering as our bachelor's. However, when we go for master's degree, we might choose thermal engineering or production engineering or manufacturing as our specification. Similarly, for electronic students, there will be VLSI or embedded systems or something like that. So you could basically choose from the different options, or you can actually specialize. So once you start into masters, you are kind of specializing into a specific branch of engineering. Great. So what's the difference between MTech as well as ME? That's MTech. MDes is totally different. It is masters in design. It's more like uh, design oriented course, like an architecture course that is already available. Okay. Now different kind of MDes courses are there, but this is the basic context. Then what's the difference between MTech and ME? So the basic thing is MTech is a course that is designed to equip you for job opportunities and placements. So if you are wishing or planning to work in a multinational company or an IT company or a core company of your preference, I would say MTech is the best choice for you. Okay. Now, what is ME then? ME is more of a theoretical course, uh, mostly aimed at preparing you or strengthening your theoretical basics. Okay. So it will more or less be similar to a bachelor's degree that we have taken. So it's ME will be very much similar to BTech. Okay, while MTech will prepare you to move on to an industry. So there will be more practical sessions. There will be a project associated with the course. So in the last 6 months of your course, you might have to do a project. You might have to go for an internship so that you can get some sort of an industrial training. So all these kind of opportunities are there for MTech. ME will be more or less like a theoretical course to strengthen your um, background. Great. Then prerequisite for any of this will be you have to qualify GATE, okay, and finish your bachelor's degree with of score that the institute where you want to go for higher studies might fix. Okay. Then for MDes, you may have to clear some other exams too, other than GATE. Okay. So that's a totally different thing. Now, once you qualify GATE with a decent score, then and acquire a good rank, you could select the departments as well as institutes where you want to apply for higher studies. Then it's more or less like a straightforward option where, okay, if you want to go for higher studies or MTech in IAC, you can go to the portal and do the application procedure. And finally, if you can qualify, you will be called for the interview. Now, MTech in institutes like IAC or IITs or even NITs will have high cutoffs compared to many of the other programs that I'll be discussing later on. This is because of the fact that MTech avails you a lot of job opportunities. As I said earlier, MTech trains you for jobs, right? So, or for give you an industrial preparedness. That's what we could say. So, what happens is you are bound to get very good placements after MTech, and that's why there is a huge rush towards taking MTech in one of the institutes, premier institutes in India. So the cutoffs will be quite high. So you will have to qualify GATE with quite a good marks or rank. Okay, and you can expect a fees around 30,000 per year. That's kind of decent. And till this year, they had stipends. MTech students have stipends of around 12,400 rupees per month. And there is some speculation that they might discontinue the stipend, but this is the basic thing. Okay, so at the end of MTech, you will have an MTech degree, obviously. Plus, you might have some conference papers, then internship experience. a placement or job offer, something like that. And when it comes to the the hectic nature or the kind of work that you will be doing is mainly coursework. So you will have to learn a lot. You have to do a lot of assignments, and in some places you may have to do TA-ship or teaching assistantship where you teach BTech students. Okay, so this is about the MTech. Then what we have is MTech research. So this course is designed for students who are interested to do masters, okay, but with a research focus. Now, okay, what's the difference between a PhD and an MTech research? Because MTech research will be somewhere around last around 2 to 2.5 years, which can be the you can also finish PhD in 2.5 to 3 years. So what's the difference? So the basic idea of having or taking MTech research is, okay, you would like to do research or you would like to have a taste of research. However, you do not want to take too much of the risk getting into a mainstream research program like PhD. So it's like MTech research is kind of an balance between a full-time research program like PhD, while uh, going and an industrial research industrial program like MTech. So MTech research is kind of in between both. So you could take MTech research as an option if you have kind of an uncertainty whether you want to move ahead with research or not. Okay, so you will always have the option to go back to an industry if you wish. Okay, so the other things like stipend, fees, kind of everything is almost the same, and the outputs or the benefits that you will be getting after the program will be more or less the same. However, you have to note that the program might end in 2 years like MTech, or could even last to 2.5 years. And at the end of MTech research, the main difference is during MTech you might have done a project and gone for an internship, and that's the end of the course. However, for MTech research, you will be doing a research project. Okay, unlike that we do in BTech. Okay, MTech project will be more or less like our BTech project only, but at a higher level with higher focus. However, MTech research will have a project that is more research oriented. So you will have to explore things by yourself with the help of your guide. Okay, and then you might go for a conference, and finally you will have to submit a thesis. Thesis is like, okay, I have done this kind of an experiments. It's a documentation of all the experiments that you might have done, all the new things that you might have come across, and you are kind of reporting it. So thesis is the end of the MTech research, while project will be kind of the end of MTech. So this is the major difference. So if you have any more doubts, you can always come to me. Then another thing is MTech research is kind of easier to get in, because I already told you that people who come for MTech research might go for higher studies rather than going for a placement. So the kind of or the number of people who choose research as their career is comparatively less than the people who choose placements. So the rush is less, therefore the cutoff is less. Okay, so if you have a gate score that is lesser than that required for MTech, you still have the probability for getting into a MTech research course. Good. Then, okay, remember, for premier institutes like IISc or IITs or in NIT, if you clear the cutoff, you might be called for an interview, or there could be a short written exam or a screening exam, and followed by an interview. So that may depend on the institute. It's not compulsory. It may happen or it may not happen. Okay. Now we have the PhD. So PhD is kind of a full-time research, postgraduate degree where you spend a lot of time, somewhere around 3 to 7 years. So that's a broad gap, you can understand. 3 years to 7 years, like it's somewhere like BTech to twice the BTech. So if you are planning to go for PhD, you better think about it, because you shouldn't regret it later on. But as I had selected PhD, I know that okay, with the kind of research focus or interest that we have, this is actually a very good opportunity for me. So similarly, if you are too much interested towards research, you can definitely go for PhD. Now, okay, what's the prerequisite for getting into a PhD program? So most of the conventional way of getting into PhD is you finish bachelor's, okay, or BTech, then you go for master's. Okay, master's means MTech or MTech research or ME, anything. So once you finish the master's, so understand that okay, since you have finished master's, you already have cleared the gate exam, okay, during for master's degree. So after you finish masters, you could directly come for a PhD program. So for in this way, if you are coming for PhD, the major criterions that will be evaluated will be your CGPA during the masters, okay, and maybe even during the bachelor's degree. Then they will check whether you have gone for some conferences or do you have any publications during your master's degree. So this will be the major criterion. Then there could be a written exam for screening you, as well as there could be an interview also. So this is how you usually get into PhD in the usual way. Now there are other options also, like if you are going to a big company, or if you already have got a job in APSC or something like that, they might send you for a PhD degree later on. It's called a Quality Improvement Program, or QIP, where you will be nominated by your firm or your company to for higher studies. So those kind of options are there. But otherwise, the straightforward way is BTech, GATE, Masters, followed by PhD. There could be break in between. You might have gone for some other job. Then you understood that you want to go for research. You can quit that and come back for PhD anytime. Okay, but it's a long-time investment, 3 years to 7 years, something like that. Okay, now said that PhD is kind of a long-term investment like this. You will have a more stable stipend. So for the first 2 years, you'll be getting somewhere around 31,000 per month, followed by 35,000 per month for another 3 years. So 5 years is kind of the duration till which you will get a proper stipend. After that, the government of India will be giving you financial assistance for 1 more year. So that's around 12,000 rupees per month. So for 6 years, you'll be getting some sort of financial assistance from your institute or government. So this is about the PhD. Now, at the end of PhD, what do you get? You get a PhD degree, okay, or Doctor of Philosophy degree in a specific topic that you might have researched upon. Then you will have a few publications based on your work, as well as the works that you might have collaborated with your lab mates. Okay, then getting into PhD means you are obviously getting into a lot of workload. There will not be any specific time schedule as such. So for BTech, we go to college at 9, leave by 4. Okay, for MTech, more or less the same. Then you will have to do some extra assignments. When you go for PhD, first couple of years, you will have to do the coursework, or you have to take subjects that will help you during your PhD. Okay, then followed by intense research work, which do not have any specific time period as such. Anytime, night, midnight, morning, everything happens. Okay, so think about all these things if you are getting into PhD. Even in Indian Institute of Science, where I study, the average age of a PhD student is somewhere around 28 years. So you could understand the distribution of age. There will be people who are at 40 years old and doing the PhD, and there could be people who are as young as 23 years old or 22 years old doing PhD. So a large age difference could be there between the people. Okay, great. Then we have integrated PhD. So I told you the conventional way of getting into PhD, right? Now we have the non-conventional ways of getting into PhD. One way is the integrated PhD. So simply said, you can go for a PhD after BTech, okay? And here the catch is you get masters as well as PhD together. So most people who get into integrated PhD will have the thought process that, okay, I can invest some long-term, say 5 to 7 years. Integrated PhDs typically take 5 to 7 years, not 3 to 7 years. Okay, so it can take at least 5 to 7 years of their time. So if you are totally into research and you are very much certain that you are into research, you are a research type of guy, definitely go for integrated PhD. So after BTech, qualify, get with a good score. Okay, go for an interview at the institute that you would like to choose. Okay, then once you are selected, for the first 2 years you will be doing courses similar to an MTech student, followed by you will start with the PhD problem and PhD work. Okay, so the benefit being of doing an integrated PhD is you can do both masters as well as PhD in a single go from a good institute that you are looking to study in. Okay, so there will not be any uncertainties as such. So if you are doing MTech separately as well as PhD separately, what you will feel is like, okay, after MTech, okay, I have to think about, or I have to start applying again. Those kind of confusions doesn't come when you go for an integrated PhD. So that's the main benefit of doing an integrated PhD. Then the other things, stipend and everything is more or less the same. In the first year, you will have you will get a stipend similar to an MTech student. After that, you will be starting to get a stipend like a PhD student itself. Okay, and you will have the benefits of both MTech as well as PhD in a single go. Now, one more thing is there. In some institutes, if you enroll for integrated PhD and you drop out, okay, after 2 years you feel that, okay, this research is not for me, some institutes give you master's degree and tell bye-bye. But in case of some institutes like IAC, I guess, you will have to finish both master's as well as PhD, or you have to finish the entire time period in order to get both the degrees. So that's kind of a tricky part. Try to understand what's the rule in your institute of choice, and then go for the integrated PhD. Now is the weird path that even I took. It's the direct PhD. So direct PhD is kind of skip MTech or masters, go for PhD. So it's like you finish bachelor's, write GATE, get a decent score, just like MTech or integrated PhD or something like that. Then you directly go into PhD. So the course could be somewhere around 3 to 7 years itself. So you are kind of young when you get into PhD. That's the main thing about direct PhD program. Okay. Other than that, it's more or less like a usual PhD program. And the only thing is you do not have a master's degree at the end of the PhD. So who chooses direct PhD if you do not have a master's? So if you are very much sure that you will be looking for some job opportunities in academic arena, something like being a professor or full-time researcher, in that case, you can go for direct PhD, where you do not want or you do not intend to spend time on getting trained for an industrial perspective. So if you're totally on research and you would like to be a teacher or a professor in a college, you can even go for a direct PhD. Okay, that's the course that I took. Okay, if you have any doubt, you can just ask me later on. Okay, then about one important thing that I came across is the PMRF. Okay, so this is one of the most prestigious research fellowship that you can get in India. So PMRF started a few years before. So the main goal of PMRF being when you get into a PhD, okay, so you are investing a lot of time, and I have told you that the age group that we will be looking at is quite diverse. Some 23 years like me to some 40 years like old people. I mean, yeah, middle-aged people who go for PhD. So you might have a family or to look after that who depends on your income. So what happens is when you go for PhD, you are actually risking a lot of career as well as economic balance that you might need to look after your family. So PMRF kind of helps you with that. So if you are eligible, you can actually apply for PMRF, and the stipend is quite high. So you do not have to worry anything about the economic things to look after your family or whatsoever. So you can focus totally on research itself. So that's the main goal of PMRF. Okay, and what are the criterions you can to get into PMRF? You have two options: direct entry as well as lateral entry. Okay, in direct entry, what happens is if you are a student of IIC or IIT or some national level institutes or tier 1 institutes, and you have a cutoff CGP of 8.5, okay, CGP of 8, you can actually apply for PMRF. And remember, PMRF is for PhD students. Okay, so it does not talk much about MTech per se. So it's for PhD. So if you get PMRF, you can enroll for PhD. Now, if you are not from IITs or IAC, where you did your bachelor's, you will have to clear GATE as an extra step. Okay, for basic science students, they can write some other exams too, but for BTech students, you will have to qualify GATE with a score of 650. This is kind of a cutoff or eligibility criteria. Now, this is the eligibility criterion. So if you have, you are over this eligibility criterion, what you could do is you could just apply for the scholarship, which will involve you to prepare a research proposal. Like, okay, I would like to do this kind of research. This, for example, I could say, okay, cancer research. Okay, these are the issues that people typically face when it comes to cancer diagnosis. So I propose a new method to diagnose cancer. So this is just a basic idea. You might have to refine it a lot, and you prepare a research proposal. Okay, this is what I will be doing. So by doing this, I will be doing that, or I will be getting this kind of results. You will have to go for a literature survey and try to understand how things work. You put it all together in a proper format, you submit. So if the committee is happy with your research proposal, they will call you for an interview, followed by you'll be admitted to IITs or IICs, where you will be doing your PhD. Now, I did not go for the direct entry channel. I went for the lateral entry channel. So in here, what happens is, if you are already admitted to an institute like IITs or IAC, then you can actually apply for PMRF. Okay, so this is kind of the direct entry channel. What happens is, you get PMRF, then you get to PhD. In lateral entry channel, what happens is, you get PhD already, then you apply for PMRF. Okay, this is the two ways. So in this case, what happens is, once you are a student of IAC, for example, like me, you will have to finish 4 courses in 1 year if you are coming out directly after BTech, or you will have to take, you will have to finish 4 courses anyway in 12 months or 1 year if you are coming after BTech, and if you are coming after MTech, you will have to okay, wait, no. If you are coming after BTech, you have 2 years to finish 4 courses. If you are coming after MTech, then you will have 1 year to finish the 4 courses, and you will have you will need to have a CGP of 8.5, and similar to the previous case, you will have to have a strong research proposal as well as a publication record, so that you can show to the committee that okay, this person has some credible research interest, so we can give them a PMRF scholarship. Okay, so I got in through the Laterally channel, and the apart from PMRF being a very reputed scholarship, the perks being for 5 years you'll be getting a stipend around 70 to 80,000 per month, which is more than double that for the usual PhD program that ranges from somewhere around 31 to 35,000 per month. Apart from that, in order to fund your research, the government will be giving you 2 lakh per year so that you can do your research properly. Okay, so these are the main things about PMR. Now, okay, whatever we have discussed as of now are more academic options where you get a degree after the stipulated time period. Whether it be MTech or PhD, you get a degree after the end of the course. However, if you are not looking for that, you are looking more like a research job opportunity, these are the few options that you might have. Okay, if actually once I finished BTech, I took the first option over here, that is the project assistantship. Okay, so I wanted to have a feel of how research works, but I do not want to enroll into a full-time course. So I joined Indian Institute of Science itself as a project assistant. So if I have a bachelor's degree, I can apply for a project assistantship. Okay, and similarly, if you have an MTech, you can apply for project associateship or JR for junior research fellowship. Okay, and some other options are there. Even after PhD, you can do the same. So all these kind of options are available to you other than your pure academic course kind of options. Okay, so if you want to just get a taste after BTech, you can go for a project assistantship. If you want to get a taste of research after MTech, you can go for a research associate or project associateship. Okay, so all these kind of opportunities are there. And how do you apply for that? For project assistantship, what you could do is, okay, you are interested in machine learning or you are interested in biomedical robotics. Okay, so I was interested in biomedical robotics. So what I did was, okay, I searched for institutes. I searched in IACs or IAC, IIT, different laboratories in IAC. Okay, where the research relevant to my interests, that is biomedical robotics, is there. Then I checked who is the professor who is in charge of that laboratory. I contacted that professor by email. Okay, so the professor might be interested while they see our CV, and they might keep an interview or might not, and call us for or give us the offer. So this is a temporary position. Okay, this is not a permanent job. It's a for a duration of 1 to 2 years. You can work in that lab. Okay, you can help PhD students out. You can work on projects that that lab takes otherwise. Okay, so that's the main basic context of what you will be doing as a project assistant. If you have any more doubts, you are free to ask me. Okay, now when it comes to research, there is actually difference between the different institutes. Okay, now we know that after +2 or schooling, that then we go for search for options in IITs or NITs or even IAC. However, if you are into research, IITs and NITs may not be a good option for you. This is because IITs and NITs are more or less like our engineering colleges in Kerala. So it's not about the quality that I'm talking about, it's the focus. Okay, so in IITs as well as NITs, you will be trained to be an engineer, or you will be trained to become suitable for an industry rather than for research. So the top research institutes are mostly not the ones that are top engineering institutes. So if you are totally looking forward for a job opportunity, IITs or NITs could be a good option for you. And if you are going for research opportunities, research specific institutes like IAC or Tata Institute of Fundamental Research or TIFR, okay, or all these kind of options are available. So if you are into research, you can select one of the institutes like this, which totally supports research. Okay, so these are the kind of research opportunities in India itself. Okay, now if we are thinking about research opportunities abroad after our BTech studies, similar to our MTech, we will have MS degrees abroad. So you will have to write exams like GRE, where you'll be tested for your verbal abilities and numerical ability. Okay, there will be you will basically test your English skills as well as your mathematical skills, basic mathematical skills. The questions are not very difficult or subjective. It's more like a 10th standard level. Yeah, it's quantitative kind of test, aptitude test. Okay, so then we might have to go for IELTS or TOEFL, which are language exams to check your English language proficiency. Okay, depending on the institutes or colleges that you might be applying abroad, you may have to write IELTS or TOEFL. Commonly, US based or universities in US prefers TOEFL over IELTS, while in Europe it's more IELTS because IELTS is based on British standards. Okay, so that's the difference between TOEFL and IELTS. I had written GRE as well as IELTS. So if you have doubt in that also, you might ask me later on. Okay. Then once you qualify GRE as well as IELTS, you can send this course to the institute that you might want to go for a master's degree. Okay. And these are just the eligibility criterion. Then they will look for your CGPA as well as whether you have some publication history or something. Then you will have to give a statement of purpose. It's similar to the research proposal, but its statement of purpose is more like, okay, why I do want to go for master's degree. Okay, what's the purpose of you doing this master's degree? That's kind of way by which the reader will understand, okay, this guy have a passion towards higher studies. So that's one way of screening. Then you will be asked to submit a letter of recommendations from your professors from your college or something like that, who might know you better. Okay, so that professor could write a recommendation letter for you saying that, okay, this student is good. He has an aptitude towards higher studies. So if you are giving him a seat or her a seat, they will be utilizing that opportunity to their level best. So that's kind of a letter of recommendation that you might have to give it to the universities. So this is for the master's degree abroad. In most places, this is the same. And if you're focusing on some countries like Germany or Switzerland, you may have to show that apart from the English proficiency that you might require, you will have to also show proficiency in languages like German, okay, which is specific to that country. Now, these are the basic things. Now, if you want to do a PhD program in abroad, okay, you could do after you finish MTech in one of the institutes in India. Then you could directly mail to the professor, okay, in the university that you wish to apply, okay, get acquainted, try to understand how the lab works. Then you can apply through the portals of the universities, as well as in some cases you can directly apply to the professor. You will get scholarships like Fulbright scholarship to okay, Tata fellowship is there, so that you can do higher studies abroad. And PhDs abroad is usually funded, well funded. So if you're going for a PhD abroad, you do not have much expenses. However, if you're going for a master's degree abroad, it's quite expensive. Okay, so this is the basic idea. Then you might have remember a thing that I have put it as postdoc or postdoctoral position. That's kind of an end of your research studies per se. Okay, so what happens is after you finish PhD, you can go for a postdoctoral position, or once you get, that is, once we get the doctoral position or doctor of philosophy or PhD, you can go for a next step, that is the postdoctoral fellowship. Here you will be paid for your work. It's just like the research associate you can see over here, right? After you finish PhD, it's more like that. During the postdoctoral position, you will be working under a professor, but you will have more independence compared to a PhD student. So you will investigate yourself, you will formulate the plan yourself, but that professor will be guiding you to be prepared to be a professor later on. Okay, so it's kind of a broad training that you'll be getting after PhD. So this is the basic idea. Now, if you would like to know anything, you are free to ask questions now. I hope I have gone through most of the things. Now I think we will have somewhere around 40 minutes to have a QA where we could clarify more. That's better, I guess. Okay, please go ahead. Thank you. Anyone?
Dear participants, if you have any doubts, please unmute and ask. Comment session will not be available.
Excuse me.
I guess everyone's sleeping.
Okay, thank you, sir. It was really very informative session, and I'm damn sure that all the participants are really benefited by the session. And I would also like to thank all the participants for your cooperation. And before leaving the session, please ensure that you have filled the feedback form. Otherwise, you will not be able to get the certificate. The link will be provided in the comment section, and also you can include your suggestion and feedback regarding the session. And I think your doubts are cleared, and if you have any doubts, please unmute and ask. And thank you all. Thank you, Arjun sir, for your valuable time.
Sure.